Hi there, it's Peter here again, the guy who hates tomatoes but loves front-end development. In this video you will learn how to use a local storage to save data and persist them on a page refresh. In this video you will learn how to use local storage and how to keep the data saved locally and prevent the fetching of the data unless the user triggers it by some action like clicking on a button. So this will save you some bandwidth, and also the page will look full of data straight on a page load if the user already visited the page before. We're loading the data into the state inside of the component did mount, and then we'll need to hook into the component will update, which fires immediately before rendering with new props or state. Okay, so in the component did mount, we are fetching the data, and right before it renders with the new state, we want to save it to a local storage. So refer to the component will update lifecycle method, where we will save the local state or save the state into local storage. We will switch back to VS Code and scroll up. We'll collapse some of these methods so the code looks more streamlined for now. And then just between the fetch data and render, we will create the component will update. As you can see, I'm using the snippets and CWUP component will update will render the right code for me. Component will update, and in a parentheses next props and next state. Now inside of it we can set the local storage item. So local storage.set item. And how local storage work, it takes key value pairs. So we'll call the key contacts, and as the value we'll just for now put something. And if we save it, refresh the page, then we should see inside of the DevTools, inside of the application, we'll see the contacts and contact date. I'll just delete it because that's from the previous project. So for now, we've got just contact and something inside of it. As you can see, there's a key and value. We obviously want to change the value to our state. So let's go back to VS Code, delete the string, and we will call json.stringify, and we'll pass it the next state.contacts. Okay, so the contacts which have been just loaded into the state, we want to turn it into JSON object and save it as a contacts into local storage. Now when we refresh the page, you'll see there is an array of all the contacts. If I copy and paste it inside of new VS Code file, and I'll change the formatting to JSON, format the document, you'll see that these are all the elements from our state. We can close that for now and go back to the component will update, and we will save one more item into the local storage. We will call it contacts date, and we will get the timestamp from the date.now, which will just save the timestamp that we can reuse later to check how old the data are. Okay, if we refresh it in the browser, we'll see the new contacts date with the updated time saved to local storage. Now we will look into or hook into another lifecycle method, this time component will mount, and inside of it we will check if the item exists in the local storage. So local storage.getItem contacts, and if it exists, then we want to set it to our state. Okay, so we use the JavaScript expression and two ampersands, and then this.setState, and inside of it we'll simply set the contacts to be json.parse, and we pass in the local storage getItem contacts. Okay, I can copy and paste it from above because that's exactly what we want to parse as a JSON, and set it to contacts into the state, and then we also change the isLoading to false. Okay, so here we're checking if it exists in the local storage. If it does, set it to the state. Okay, let's save it and see what we've got in the browser. We refresh the page. We've got some data. We refresh again. We've got another set of data. So as you can see, we're not getting any JavaScript errors, but we are getting another set of data on a page load. Why is this happening? Let's go back to the code and try to figure it out. We're using the component will mount, and then we're fetching the data in the component did mount. Okay, so the one is overriding the other. So component did mount is happening after component will mount. So we are actually still fetching the data even though we set the local storage in the previous lifecycle method. Okay, so this is very important that you understand the order in which these lifecycle methods are happening. So inside of the component did mount, we need a little if statement where we need to check whether the data exists and only load it when it doesn't exist. Okay, so let's copy this fetch data inside of the if statement, and we are checking if local storage get item contacts exists, and if it doesn't, then fetch the data, and if it exists, then just we'll simply console log using data from local storage. Now inside of the browser, if we reload, we'll see the using data from local storage message. And if we delete the local storage, we should see the data reloaded from the server. So refresh it now, we should see the spinner, then data loaded, and another refresh will again load the data from the local storage. So we've got it working perfectly fine. Just for your reference, again, refer to the React cheat sheet and the order in which these lifecycle methods are happening. The first one's happening before initial render. The second one is happening after the initial render. And in the next video, you will learn how to use the contacts date timestamp and check whether that's older than 15 minutes and then reload the data. Okay, so we won't be checking if it exists. We will check the age of it and fetch the data based on how old the data are. This is it for this video. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Until next time, happy coding!